Earlier today, I was thinking about some aspects of the UFL. There's some things I like about the UFL. Obviously, since I covered them for the UFL News Hub, primarily the San Antonio Brahmas. I like spring football. I like that a lot of players get a chance to continue their playing career, and maybe they get a chance to move on to the NFL. That really hasn't happened. They've moved on to practice squads, but they really haven't moved on to the NFL. But it's still nice to think about. As someone who had football dreams myself, you really think, well, maybe they just need a chance. So the UFL is pretty cool for that reason. I did enjoy the XFL in 2023, and really I've enjoyed all the versions of the XFL. I also glanced at the USFL recently, the last 2 years it existed. I found the USFL to be kind of boring, and I found the teams to be very predictable. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty good league. When they combined the two leagues, I was hopeful for the league, and I think the league's going to be okay. But the problem I see a few problems with the league. And first one is fan expectations. Okay, a lot of fans of the UFL unrealistically believe it's going to be the greatest football league of all time. Well, it's not. The NFL is the greatest football league of all time. Why? Because it's been around for nearly 100 years, and it's been in its current form for 60 years. It has tradition, it has history, it has great players, it has connections across all kinds of walks of life. Okay, casual football fans love watching the NFL. Casual football fans love watching college football. To compete with those things is not realistic in 1 year. And double that with the complete disaster spring football has been up until last year. Okay, the AAF, the original XFL, the new XFL, the World League of Football. Every version of spring football has been short-lived. It's been short-lived and disastrous. So why would the UFL be different? Well, hopefully the UFL has a business plan. Hopefully they've done some research and they said, okay, is there a market in the places we have teams for spring football? Now, obviously, I think they did. XFL, it was pretty successful for spring football. It wasn't a huge success. Obviously, it doesn't exist anymore. But it was mildly successful, and there were a few teams that really did well in terms of fan support. And I guess those teams were in the XFL. Although it seemed like Seattle was really good. So maybe San Antonio. San Antonio has the potential to be a hotbed of fans. Texas is a great state for football. But it's hard to say that it's that great right now. The USFL teams have been a disaster in terms of attendance. The best one's been the Birmingham Stallions, but literally they're the best team in the league. And I've personally been to several Birmingham Stallions games, and it's half full at best because they only sell half the stadium. So you're like, well, it's the best they can do is half full. So what's up with that? That's the best team in the league. The best team in terms of following is the St. Louis Battlehawks, and it would be really good. It would be a good idea by the UFL to make them the best team. I don't think it sounds good when you say that. They should make them the best team. But they have the best fan support. And they hosted a championship game last year for the UFL. It would have been a big boost to have them play the Birmingham Stallions, the best team in spring football that we all know about, whatever that means. And the St. Louis Battlehawks, the best fan base, the best stadium. It's pretty good. They got a good following. The San Antonio Brahmas. Sorry, that was a slip. But the San Antonio Brahmas, they blew up the St. Louis Battlehawks championship game hopes in the XFL championship game. And really, the Brahmas had not beaten the Battlehawks up to that point. So it was pretty unlikely for them to come in there to St. Louis and beat the Battlehawks. But they did. The Battlehawks did not play well, which does not bode well for the most popular team in the league. I'm not saying the league is doomed because the Battlehawks lost, but it doesn't help. San Antonio Brahmas could be the best team in the league. if it wasn't for the Birmingham Stallions. Now, is it positive to have the Birmingham Stallions be the unchallenged champion of all spring football? I don't think so, okay? If you think about successful sports leagues, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, the MLS, okay? What they have going for them is parity. Fans do not know who's going to win the league at the beginning of the year. That's like knowing the end of a movie before you go see the movie. If you're going to go see a movie and you already know the ending, are you going to go see the movie? No, that sounds dumb. If you read a book but you already know the ending of the book, are you going to read the book? Maybe, if the book's well written, but probably not. I already know the end of that book. So the fact that the Birmingham Stallions have won 3 straight spring football championships, it's easy to make them a favorite. And everyone's made them a favorite. DraftKings made them a favorite this year, once again. If that happens, I think the UFL's done. I think it's over. If everyone can predict the Birmingham Stallions win the league, and then they win the league again, who cares? Maybe it's not that the Birmingham Stallions are all that great. Maybe it's that the rest of the league is bad. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's why Birmingham has only a three-peat in modern football history. They said that after the Chiefs, and I saw some memes, after the Chiefs got beat by the Eagles. The only team with a three-peat is the Birmingham Stallions. That's not the same thing as if the Chiefs would have made a three-peat. That's not the same thing because they've played in a lesser league against practice squad players. Not to be a downer, but I think the league needs to think things through a little better to exist. So I have a few things I thought about. So first, for an 8-team league, there should be a lot of parity. There's 8 teams. Last year, 3 of those teams were horrible. The Arlington Renegades in the XFL division were 3-7. The Houston Roughnecks in the USL division are 1-9. The Memphis Showboats were 2-8. That's bad football. You have 8 teams in the league and 3 of them suck. That's not great. Okay. The Birmingham Stallions 7-3, same record as the St. Louis Battlehawks and the San Antonio Brahmas. They didn't seem to be dominant. The Brahmas upset them during the season. They lost a few games. That was all after they clinched their playoff berth. They were not playing at the top of their game during that time. So to count those victories, that's cool. But then we got to the championship game and the Brahmas got smacked down. They got smacked down because they didn't play good football. How did they become 7-3? How did they win the XFL conference? That doesn't bode well for the rest of the league. Are the Birmingham Stallions the best team in spring football because they're the best team? Well, they're the best team in the UFL. I think if the UFL doesn't exist after this year, it'll be because that didn't mean anything. Who cares? Now, I will say, I got a few positives. The Birmingham Stallions are loaded on their offensive and defensive line. I think that happened because the USFL started with a hub system, and all the games were played at Birmingham. So if you want to get fans in Birmingham, maybe you should make the Birmingham Stallions the best team. And in football, you may think in football, well, quarterbacks make a big difference, or running backs, or receivers, or linebackers, or all that stuff. They get a lot of hype. But to be the best team in football, you need 3 things. You need a great defensive line, a great offensive line, and you need a defensive secondary that's the best. If you have that, you're a really tough team to beat. Birmingham Stallions have that. They've had that since the beginning of the USFL, this new version of it, before it became the UFL. They were loaded on their defensive line, their offensive line, and their defensive backfield. Why? Because you need people to show up to the game. You need people to come to the game. And all the games are played in Birmingham. So why not make Birmingham the best team? So in year 1, that made sense. Okay? Birmingham's the best team. They get all the fans. We all feel good. I went to a New Orleans Breakers game, and there were very few people there, maybe 500 people. Later, the Birmingham Stallions had a couple thousand people. So it makes sense. The next year, the USFL, they broke it up to different hubs. At that point, it would make more sense to spread the talent out a little bit, spread it out a little bit, let some other cities see success. Why? Because Birmingham's drawing a couple thousand people. Now we're probably drawing about 10,000 for a big game. It's building, but that's not really what people are calling success. Okay? So it would have made sense in USFL to spread that out and get more parity in the league. And it may have survived. It may have gotten more fans on its own had it even things out a little bit talent-wise. But it did. Okay? It did. The XFL was pretty much wide open. And Houston Roughnecks, who are now, essentially the San Antonio Brahmas, they were pretty much the best team. Okay, the Seattle Sea Dragons got a lot of hype because they had a good coach and they had a decent quarterback. The St. Louis Battlehawks got a lot of hype, but they didn't make the playoffs. The DC Defenders got a lot of hype, but they were a house of sticks. They fell apart last year when they got their running back hurt. So, what's that mean? I don't know. If one player destroys your team, you're not feeling that good about what you got. You know what I'm saying? So, back to my point. The USFL, they should have made the league have more parity. It would have made more sense. The XFL had parity, but maybe it made each team weaker. That doesn't matter when they're separate, USFL and XFL. But now you join them together, and you got a problem. The USFL has a dominant force, the Birmingham Stallions. The other teams are pretty good too. Michigan Panthers were a pretty solid team. They could run the ball. They had a good offensive line, good defensive line, decent secondary. Not as good as the Stallions, but decent. And they had a quarterback that was pretty good. Okay? Now, a lot of fans support Detroit. They like the Lions. They don't like the Panthers that much. So, that's bad. But, so you come into the XFL and USFL. USFL teams have an advantage in terms of their roster depth and their overall talent because they had more flexibility because of the time of year the USFL played. The XFL had a lot of catching up to do in terms of playing the USFL teams. So in the UFL, you had the USFL division that was expected to be very strong. You had the XFL division that was planned to be a bunch of underdogs trying to scrape out some wins and prove that they deserve to be in the league. I'm not sure if that's not exactly how that played out. The Birmingham Stallions were dominant. The Michigan Panthers started off being very good. Injuries hit them, and they leveled out some. But they're 7-3, same as the Stallions. They were very good. The Battlehawks had a solid team. They got hit by injuries by the Stallions. The Stallions hurt their quarterback, and that really opened the door for the Brahmas to step in. The Brahmas were very good last year. Why? Because they had a great defense. They were supposed to have a great offense, but the offense really it suffered with Chase Garbers at quarterback and Quentin Dormady. They were not great quarterbacks. And Garbers really was a turnoff when he refused to play hard in this championship game for his future opportunities. Has anyone ever heard of Chase Garbers since then? No, they have not. Chase Garbers is a trash quarterback. Okay, so that's a side note. So with that in mind, right now we have a situation in year 2. Okay, they tried to level up, to start the UFL, they tried to level out the people. They tried to move the people. They had the drafts, they had different things. But the teams got to keep a lot of their players, and that kept the disparity between the USFL teams and XFL teams. It made the Brahmas great because they got all the Roughnecks players. That was the best team in the XFL. So, I mean, it makes sense that they're good. They probably should have been better, really thinking about it. The Defenders are a house of sticks, man. One guy got hurt, they're done. Okay? What would I do to improve the league? I complained a lot about the league. So what would I do to improve the league? I get a second team to be like the Stallions. Okay? I personally want that to be the San Antonio Brahmas. Why? Because I cover them. And it's interesting to talk about a good team. I also covered a Hamilton Tigercats and a CFL. Not that great of a team. Kind of boring. I hope they get better this year. Hopefully. Kind of boring. But in the UFL, the Brahmas were amazing. That was fun to talk about. We had a great time. Yeah, it was a great season. Made it to the championship game. Got obliterated by the Stallions. I would get more parity. Right now, how I view the league is there's a tier 1 team. The top team is the Birmingham Stallions. Someone's got to knock them off. Otherwise, they are the only tier 1. They're the king of spring football. That's not a compliment. That's lame. Tier 2, you got the Michigan Panthers. They're right there with the Stallions. They're pretty good. They got some quarterback issues now. I don't know what they're going to do. The St. Louis Battlehawks should be the best team in the league because they have the most fans. If you wanted to make money and sustain the league, the Battlehawks would be the best team. They're going to have a championship game second year in a row. They're going to take a second shot at that. Is it going to work out? I don't know. I don't think so. Because the Brahmas should be the next team to be a tier 1 team. They have everything you need. Great defense, great coaching. They're getting better at quarterback, hopefully. So they should be able to knock off the Stallions. They should become a tier 1 team to match the Stallions. XFL division should be defined by the San Antonio Brahmas. USFL should be defined by the Birmingham Stallions. Michigan Panthers and Battlehawks should be tier 2. Tier 3, Arlington Renegades, DC Defenders. That's your tier 2. Okay. And then tier 4, your Houston Roughnecks, who used to be the Houston Gamblers, not the real Houston Roughnecks, have completely rebuilt their team. They got a new coach, Ken Wisenhunt, who's not known for greatness. They have redone their roster. We'll see what happens. If they're not better, they feel a lot like the Hamilton Tirecats, who always redo the roster and keep the same level of boring football. The Memphis Showboats were the Titanic. They came in thinking they were good, and then they sank and were embarrassing to watch. I watched the Memphis Showboats and Birmingham Stallions play in person. And it was like watching children be beat down by adults. The Memphis Showboats were the children. Did they get better this year? Hopefully. You can't have 3 teams not be in the playoff hunt. You can't have your playoff teams already, determined by week 8 of a 10-week season. What's he going to do in week 9 and week 10? That sucks as a fan. I think tomorrow I'm going to talk about the Arena Football League. The dumpster fire is the Arena Football League, AF1. Tonight, the NAL has a game in indoor football, if you're into that. The Triangle Seminoles. Never heard of them. Versus the Beaumont Renegades, a new team in the NAL. I suspect the Beaumont Renegades are going to win that game, but they don't. That's probably trouble for that team in the NAL. I've never heard. I've watched a lot of grassroots football. I've never heard of the Triangle Seminoles. Shout out to the Indy Bison, who will probably beat the Triangle Seminoles. They're a semi-pro team in Indianapolis. Hey, Nick Land looked at my post yesterday. My first one for Football Scientific. I hope this one does better. I'm trying to get hype. And show my passion for football. It's tough here in the war room. My special effects are not cool. I don't have any. But I hope you had some value in what I said. Tomorrow I'll talk about AF1. I should think of a better name than that because it's a TRASH1. Trash. It's a trash league. Oh well. We'll talk about it and maybe what they should do other than disappear. All right. Enjoy the game tonight, hopefully on YouTube. If not, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks. Oh, also check out my writing on UFL News Hub and CFL News Hub. I'm writing about teams signing people right now. Training camp starts for UFL at the end of this, beginning of next week. The coaches report this week. So it's coming March 28th when the UFL starts. This is also when the IFL starts. NAL's in preseason right now. AF1 may or may not play. Who knows? Trash league. All right. Have a good day. Bye.